I had a normal job, no savings, no clue about antiques, and the bills kept rolling in just like everybody else. This is exactly how I'd build a business from scratch and get myself out of the mess. I'm going to give you a step-by-step guide today. And yes, it works even if you've got just a couple of pounds in your pocket. The video is for everybody, including beginners. I'm going to talk you through every stage of that is needed to start learning antiques and making money from antiques and building a brighter, better future for yourselves and get you out of debt if you need a little way of a side hustle and earning some money. You don't need knowledge, you don't need money to start, you really don't. So, little introduction, quick introduction. My name is Walter O'Neill and I am the founder of antiquesarena.com. This is my day job. If I don't get it right, I don't get paid. It's that simple. So I know what I'm talking about. Check out the website if you want to know who I am. And my YouTube channel is designed entirely all about helping you learn about antiques, and how to make money from antiques, and just enjoy and appreciate antiques. So, antiques have never been easier to learn. And we're going to cover every process. If you've got anything you want to ask, if you've got anything you want to say, please feel free to put comments in, and I'll look at the comments during the video, and we'll just get to it. So, as I said, antiques have never been easier to learn. They really haven't. First of all, you've got places like eBay that give you real-time prices. You can use eBay for research. You can use any of the online tools for research, for sold prices, for trends, things that are selling. If you want to learn a topic, you can literally go to eBay or SaleRoom or any of these other companies, and you can simply find out, let's say for argument's sake, you want to do glass. You can type in glass, you can see what's selling in glass, what's not selling in glass. That is a real tool that you can use. Then you have Google image search. So you can take a picture on your phone, you can upload an image to Google, click search, and it will tell you what you got or find identical items for what you got. It's that simple. It really is. Or there is also AI. I'm going to give you an example of AI now, because not a lot of people know about AI. Now, I use ChatGPT, and I'm going to share with you what ChatGPT can do and the strength of ChatGPT to help you. So if you, let's say for argument's sake, you're starting out now. I recently had a gentleman come with me who's starting out. He come round for the day with me, and I showed him how to go buy in and things like that. So this is particularly for him and others like him who are just starting out and want to learn. But if, let's say for argument's sake, you go to a car boot sale and you buy something, you don't know what it is, you bought it because you like it. So you could come home, you could come over here, and this is simple ChatGPT. All right, and I've typed in here already, and all I've said is I'm going to paste in a couple of images, one at a time, help me identify them, who made them, what they are, and what purpose and age they are. All right, that's all I've done. All right, so there you go. So I go to add. Let's do the first one. A nice, simple Royal Doulton pottery plate. So I add the image. There you go. What is it? It's a collector's plate. Likely maker, Royal Doulton, which is exactly what it is. Purpose, just a decorative wall. Age, 1980s, 1990s. You may think that's a simple item. Let's try another one. This time I'm going to add a Japanese netsuke. Now this is a carved ivory figurine that would go on an in-row as a toggle. There you go. Look at the power AI has now. This object appears to be a Japanese netsuke, a small, intricately carved toggle. So, anybody starting out wanting to learn antiques, if you don't have the knowledge in antiques, then this is a great tool. Google Image is a great tool. Those are absolutely fabulous. So if you buy anything, you don't know what it is, you can just go out, you can get help. Now that doesn't necessarily, it's not 100%, because it'll tell you what it thinks it is. It's no good at valuing stuff at the moment, and it can get it wrong. So for example, you could upload it you could say, yes, that looks like a Japanese netsuke, but is it a resin copy? You still got to have a little bit of knowledge, but it's going to give you the basics where you can start researching. So you could go from there, you could go, okay, now that's a Japanese netsuke. How do I know if that's ivory or if it's plastic? Now, I've put a video in the description for you on that, but all you have to do is find out through simple tests how to identify ivory. And then you've already got your item identified and you know it's ivory, therefore it's going to be authentic. You can't sell ivory now anyway, but that's just an example of how easy it is to do that. So you got eBay, simple. You got the sale room. There's multiple things that can give you valuations on the fly. Google image search. You've also got AI, and now you've got Facebook groups. Facebook groups, you can go to Facebook. There are many groups. I think there's a group for everything. I'm actually registered with like studio pottery, paintings, rugs, paperweights. And anytime I get someone in that I can't identify 100% myself, I'll post a picture and I'll say, can I have some help, please? And people, 9 out of 10 times, depending on the group, mind, 9 out of 10 times, someone will come back and say, well, I think it's this or it's this. And I never take anybody's word for gospel. I say, thank you very much. I then go off and I research what they've told me to find out if it's right or not, because you never know how much knowledge the person has who's helping you. But if, let's say for argument's sake, you wanted to upload a picture of a paperweight. Now, Scottish paperweights, Strathern and Perthshire look very similar. So if I was unsure, I'd put it up. If someone said Perthshire, I'd then just go and double check, but it's more likely going to be Perthshire. So there are Facebook groups. Just be very careful what information you take from Facebook groups. And as I say, it's only something to guide you. So let's start off. Choose what to buy. Now, first of all, if you've got no money at all, you can still do this. Right? You can. You can pick stuff from around your home. You really can. I'm going to cover everything in stages, what to buy, where to sell it, where to buy it, and all the rest of it. But to choose what to buy, right? You can sell stuff from around your home if you're totally skint. You really can, right? But if you've got a few pounds in your pocket, it doesn't take a lot of money. I would recommend you start off with something easy with huge potential. So, for example, jewellery. Now, I go around the car boot sales, and one of the main things I look for is jewellery. I'm looking for gold, I'm looking for silver, but I'm also looking for antiques, antique jewellery. You'll get a lot of dealers dive in the boxes, they look for gold, they move on. They miss or leave behind a lot of antique jewellery. Right? First of all, you can learn jewellery easy enough. Learning jewellery, you can use everybody. Let's be honest, everybody in your family's got a bit of jewellery. Whether it's a wedding ring, an engagement ring, whether it's a necklace, you can use family jewellery to handle it, to look at it. You get yourself a little eyeglass like this, where there's hundreds of different types, and you literally just pick a piece of jewellery up and, you're looking at hallmarks. It's that simple. Learn the hallmarks, learn how to identify it. It's that simple. I'm going to share with you the hallmarks, actually. I've done a couple of sheets for you on hallmarks. Have a look at these just to help you identify them. So first off, this is your gold hallmarks for British gold. So you got 375 for 9 carat, 585 for 14 carat, 750 for 18 carat, 216 for 22 carat. You can also have a stamp 9, 14, 18, 22. Silver ones, you got your numbers down the left, 800, 835, 900, 925, 950. 925 is the most common you'll find. On objects and on older silver, you'll find the lion patent mark. Right. Once you get yourself familiar with jewellery, even if you're using family's jewellery, get yourself familiar with jewellery. Then you go around car boot sales, wherever, you pick up boxes. That's what I do. I go around, I go in a jewellery box full of costume jewellery. People say to me all the time, there's no gold in there, there's no silver in there. They have no clue what I'm looking for. Yes, I'm looking for gold. Yes, I'm looking for silver. That is just junk gold by there. And would you believe that's like £300 worth of gold by there, and that's all broken bits. 9 carat gold, even broken, is worth £28 a gram at the moment. £56 for 18 karat gold. A sovereign, £550 scrap value. These are melting values. So everybody's looking for gold. All right. And I do find gold, even when people say to me, there's no gold or silver in them boxes. Fine. I still find gold and silver. But what that means is they didn't know they had it, and you get it in for £1 or £2. But when I'm in them boxes, I'm also looking for antique Bakelite jewellery. I'm looking for celluloid jewellery. I'm looking for good quality. I bought some beautiful quality jade beads this week. I'm looking at other stuff. All right. But first of all, if they don't think is it gold or silver, you can buy it for £1 anyway, which means you have huge potential. You can buy a piece of broken gold. One single earring I purchased recently was 3 grams, and it was 18 karat gold, and they charged me 50p. That was one broken earring in a box. They said, oh, it's broken, it's 50p. I weighed it in. It was 3 grams of 18 karat gold. You do the math, £56 a gram. Right? But you can buy, it haven't got to be gold and silver. It haven't got to be antique. You could buy just pretty costume brooches, a brooch of a leopard or bee or anything, just animals. You can pay 50p for a brooch. You can sell them on 5, 10, 15 pound. People buy them just because they're pretty. Jewelry has the biggest scope within the antiques market because you have people buying the precious metals, you have people buying the antique jewelry, but you have people who will buy it just because it's pretty, just because they can wear it and it's pretty. The potential is huge. So if you've only got, let's say you've got a fiver in your pocket, you can go to a car boot sale, and I'm genuinely, I don't know if you've been to car boot sales or not, but you can buy bits of silver, bits of jewelry rather, whether it's silver, gold or costume, for 20, 30p an item. You could buy a dozen items maybe for a fiver. You really can. So I would start off with jewelry. Failing that, if you don't want to do jewelry, pick something else, easy, small stuff you can pick up cheap. Paperweights, for example, the amount of paperweights you can pick up. Nobody, or a lot of people can't distinguish the difference between Chinese paperweights and good quality paperweights. So you start learning paperweights. Start going on eBay and other places and looking at paperweights that sell. You don't have to have big reference books and spend a lot of money. Just start looking on eBay at things that will sell in, and look at the ones that are selling for good money. Look at the quality, read descriptions and things like that. But yeah, I'd start off with jewelry. This is me talking about, if I had to start again today and I had very little knowledge, I'd learn one subject at a time. I'd learn the jewelry. I'd make money on that. Once I'm confident with the jewelry and I knew the gold, the silver, I was making money, I'd move on and add another category or subject to my, my arsenal, if you like. So then where are you going to sell it? Now, I can't believe I'm going to say this. I can't stand the place, but I would recommend you start selling on eBay. First of all, if you're brand new to antiques and reselling, you just as well have a private account, because you can sell so much on eBay for free on a private account. Still register as a business with the Inland Revenue, because you need to do that if you're a reseller, but you could sell on eBay as a private account until eBay say, now you've sold too much, you need to be a business now, or we're putting limits on you. And the good thing about that is it's free to set up an account. It's free to list and sell your items on there if you're public. If you're a business, they still charge you. People that get confused, they just say, I'm at the boot sales, they'd go, oh, you can get that on eBay. And I go, yeah, but I got fees. And then they go, yeah, it's free on eBay now. It's not. I haven't sold on eBay for like 5 years anyway, 6 years, but it's not free for businesses, but it's be free for you. If you're just starting out, eBay doesn't discriminate. Anybody can go on eBay. You can list on there for free. You can sell on there for free. Now, what I am understanding is eBay will keep your money until the item is with the buyer and they're happy. Then you'll get paid. Fine. That may give you a bit of a delay on getting your money in and turning it over. But if you're only spending pennies on a bit of jewelry or something starting out, you can ship it for £2 or £3. They get there, you get paid. It's that simple, right? And if anybody finds a bit of gold or something, you will find there are bullion dealers at almost every market in the country. When I say bullion dealers, I'm talking people who buy silver and gold for cash. They will plop it on the scales and they will just hand you the money. You don't need to sell it. They will pay you what it's worth, the weight in gold. It is that simple. They really will. So you can sell on eBay. Now, I sell on my own website, and I've done so many videos encouraging people to start up a website and build and sell on their own website. I really have. But if you sell on eBay, they've already got ready-built customers, a ready-built demand, because it's supply and demand. People got to know you. They got to know where you are. They got to be able to find you and buy the item. If they want the item, they're going to go where they can get it. Right? They can get it on eBay. So the only way they're going to buy it off you is otherwise it's like setting a shop up in the Sahara. People need to know you and know where you are. Now, branding, I'm all about branding and building a brand, right? But if you're starting out, you just well go on eBay. You really are. You just well go on eBay, start out, get an income first, get some knowledge behind you first. Utilize eBay's. I'm trying to find the right word, but utilize eBay's strengths and its site to your advantage. All at the same time of building a brand, building awareness of you and what you offer, and then working towards moving away from eBay eventually. When you get big enough that eBay say, well, you're going to have to be a business now, you can say, okay, well, rather than give you 30%, I'm now going to start investing in a website myself. But then you've got to look at driving traffic and things like that. All right. eBay got it all ready built for you. Now, I would suggest you do, once you're at that level, you do start a website, because eBay has issues. Now, I don't know if you've seen the viral video going. Some gentleman had some like 1,600 sales in a week. And out of that 1,600, 10 people put a complaint into eBay saying they hadn't had their item yet. And they froze his account, froze his PayPal, everything. He couldn't even get the money. 1,600 sales. Could you imagine that? Now, that was a complaint of 0.0 something. It wasn't even 1%. And they suspended him out of 1,600 odd sales. Now, I don't even think he had time to send tracking numbers and things. 10 complaints come in saying we haven't had our item yet. They instantly froze everything, and he's still fighting. There's a viral video going around on YouTube. So the main problem with eBay is control. They own your business. That was Big Al. There you go. So somebody's commented there, that was Big Al. So that was a video I saw the other day, just popped up on my screen. I had a shock. Thank you for that. So the big problem with eBay is they have control of your business. They could switch you off like that tomorrow and you're out of business, right? So yes, utilize it to begin with, but whatever you do, once you get big enough, strong enough, confident enough, start looking at ways to get away from it. So where'd you buy your stock? Well, you got multiple choices. If you're just starting out, you can use auction houses. The value of using an auction house is this. An auctioneer will authenticate your items, will describe your items. You will be able to buy a catalogue from your auctioneer, £2, £5, whatever it is, and in there you'll have the lot numbers and a description of the item. Now that won't work so well if you buy miscellaneous boxes, because then it'll just be miscellaneous box full of junk. But if you're buying individual lots, the auctioneer describes them for you, puts an estimate value on them for you, everything, right? So then you can come home and you can research them and go, well, the auctioneer said it's this. I can have a look what they're worth. That's what I'll pay for it. That's what I'll sell it for. You need more money to buy from auction. You can go to auction and buy £1, £2, £3, £4, £5 miscellaneous boxes of household or bric-a-brac, low-end items that nobody wants really, sell them on at car boot sales and make a really good living. That is how I started doing this. I used to buy things from auction, fill my car up. I'd spend maybe 50 quid in the auction. I'd go down the car boot sale the following day. I'd sell it for like 200 quid. Right? That is a good way of handling a lot of stock, learning what's worth money, and making a few pounds. It's not as easy today, I don't think, as it used to be when I started, because there's so many people doing it. But if you've got a few pounds and you're happy to make a margin, then you can buy from an auction, list it on eBay, make a profit, repeat. It's that simple, because the auctioneer is helping you. Then the more items you buy and the more items you handle, the more you're going to learn. You learn from you can go to auctions, you can pick the stuff up. You haven't even got to buy it. You could pick it up, right? Go to the auction house. Ooh, he's described it that. Pay £2 for an auction catalogue, walk around, handle the stuff, because you can handle it free and examine it free before you bid on it, because you got to check it for condition and all the rest of it. And then you can go away. You haven't even got to buy it. You can just use it as a learning tool if you want to. But the trouble is, I hate auctions. For two reasons. One, I don't make enough money on the items to cover everything, because making a small margin isn't enough to support yourself 100% in this business. You need a lot more than a small margin. You need margins of 2, 3, 4 to 1 on your items to make it in this business. You just will be realistic now. You can't say, I'm going to buy it for 100, sell it for 120. That doesn't cut it, because by the time you lose your fuel, your costs, your pitch, whatever you want to do, anything, like you need a certain margin. But as a good way of starting, absolutely fine. But if you buy from auction, watch out for fees. They can kick you up a bum. Now, where I tend to buy from is car boot sales. And you would be astonished where you can buy from car boot sales. First of all, I got a video coming out tomorrow, and I've done a special one for today's video, which is basically I've done a fast track. So I'm going to show 10 or 20 pieces of jewelry I've bought from car boot sales in the last week to 2 weeks, including gold, silver, antique jewelry, costume jewelry. It's all come in over the last week or 2 weeks from car boot sales, and it's all come in for next to nothing, right? But it's not like one of my antique videos where I give a description of the item, the history of the item. This is a quick fire. This is such and such is what I had. This is such and such. It is done for this video to show you what type of jewelry you can find if you want to go out there and actually dig in the boxes. Now, Chris came with me last week. He watched me. I got down on my hands and knees. I was in boxes on the floor, rummaging. That is what it takes to find the stuff. Now, the good thing about car boot sales is everything is next to nothing. You can go up to a stall, and more often than not, you'll pick something up. What is this? And it's £1. Right? If you've got a little bit of knowledge and you've taken a bit of time to do a bit of research before you start doing this, whether it's jewelry, whether it's a glass vase, whether it you may even be interested in vintage games, vintage electronics, anything. It comes in for nothing at car boot sales. The downside is you get hundreds of dealers at the car boot sales, all doing exactly the same, coming in trying to compete. So it's a question of who can get to the item first. But at the same time, you don't want to rush and run because you miss everything. So it's a double-edged sword. You've got to really take your time and look at the stalls tidy. But at the same time, you still got to be try and be quick and beat everyone else. Otherwise, you're going to miss it. But then there's no guarantees. If anything is faked, it ends up at a car boot sale. And I mean that. Chinese porcelain, money, even money's faked, and it's all over the car boot sales. You name it. If something's worth money, the Chinese are copying it, and then it ends up on a car boot sale. So you gotta know where you're buying. All right. I wouldn't recommend to anybody to just go to a car boot sale and start spending money. I would say pick a subject. If you want to do 1960s glass, 1970s ceramics, whatever you want to do, pick a subject, spend a week or two studying it online, learn the shapes, learn the markings, whatever it takes. But do that. Don't just go to a car boot sale handing out money. One of the good things about jewelry is most people already know what gold looks like, already know what silver look like. So you could start tomorrow. That was why I picked jewelry. All right. There is other areas you can buy. You can buy off eBay. I can tell you now, I actually know dealers personally who buy off eBay and sell it back on eBay or sell it back on their own sites and the markets. I have one gentleman I buy off, Richard, and he personally scours eBay 4 or 5 hours a day looking for cheap stuff that's slipped through the net, mistakes, and he buys it and he sells it up in Madley car boot sale. And more often than not, I end up buying it off him. And it's all stuff that has come from eBay. So eBay is a really good source. If you're on there learning, let's say for argument's sake, somebody sold a Perthshire paperweight for £142, and you're learning the paperweights, and all of a sudden you go, well, why is he selling it for a £5 or a £10? And it's slipping through the net. You buy it. You know it's £140. Somebody's already paid that. And if somebody sells it for a £5, that's on them. So you can buy from eBay and sell back on eBay. Or, in fact, I've actually done videos buying on eBay and selling back on eBay during the lockdown. They're on my channel somewhere. So it can be done. And I know people do it anyway all the time. So, you've picked an item, you want to start learning to sell, you know where you're going to buy your stock, whether it's auction, whether it's car boot sale, whether it's online. You know what you're going to do. Now, building a brand is important. Right? If you're going to sell on eBay, people will go, oh, well, I bought this off eBay. If you're going to sell in an antique centre, well, I bought this at the pumping station, or I bought this here. They don't say, well, I bought it off so-and-so at eBay. I bought it off so-and-so at the pumping station. Your brand is important. You need to stand out, because the key to this game is longevity, long-term, right? You want to build a future, and believe me, you can build a great future in antiques. You really can. So, brand. When people buy off you, they want, oh, well, let me rephrase that. What is branding? Branding is basically association. When they hear your name, you want a good association. So when they hear my name, which is Antiques Arena, it's my business name, they already know I deal with high-end pieces, good quality pieces. They know I'm reliable. They know if they buy something, they're going to get it. They know their money's safe. They just know I'm not a scammer, and they know I buy good quality. That's something I've built up over years and years. These videos have helped me. But even when I was selling on eBay, I put personal cards in, thank you letters in, anything that could get my name out there. So if a customer had an item, it'd be, oh, that's who I had it off. I had it off Antiques Arena. It may be eBay, but they had it off Antiques Arena. Maybe next time they go on eBay, they'd look at it for your Antiques Arena channel, or they might save you as a favourite. Or if you go to an antique centre, Kieran sold in the pumping station, Taliesin Antique. So if you give them a card, they go, oh, he's in the pumping station, I'll go back, and then might go back to his stall. Building a brand. All you need to do is build association with you. People need to know who you are. The more people who know who you are, the more stuff you can sell. It's that simple. The more people who trust you, the more you'll sell. That's all branding is. It's a good association with your name and trust. It's that simple. Now, what I would suggest you do, and this isn't for everybody, but this is what I recommend for anybody who's starting out. I recommend you start a YouTube channel. Now, there's a lady in America living the good life. She doesn't even show her face. She just shows the jewellery and things on the table. So you don't have to go on the camera like I am now. You can literally just set the camera down onto the table, talk about your stock, what you've bought. Now, the unique selling position you have there is you're brand new. You can document your journey, your struggles, your mistakes. There's a lot of people out there in your position wanting to start a side hustle, wanting to become an antique dealer, wanting to make money from vintage, retro, home decor, anything. There's a lot of people out there want to do it, but nervous to take the plunge. And I can tell you now, you'd already be, just by starting, you'd be better than 99% of people. Right? But if you started a channel, people are going to start following you because of the journey, because all of a sudden it's relatable to them. Right? So I recommend anybody who's doing this, start a YouTube channel. It'll also document your journey. Now, I would love to see some of the most famous people, how they got there. Some of the richest people in the world, how did they get that rich? Because they don't start off. Most of the rich people in the world are entrepreneurs, people who went against the system, took a chance, and built something amazing. And I would love to read how they done it. But you document the journey, people will read it, they'll follow it. If you don't want a YouTube channel, start a blog. You can start keeping a daily blog. People will find it, they'll start reading it, they'll get interested, they'll follow you, they'll invest in you. Right? You show everything, your wins and your mistakes. People don't want to think, oh, he's immortal, he don't make mistakes, I can't compete with that. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to fail, I'm going to fall over, I'm going to flop at the first hurdle. People need to know they're relatable. So the upshot is, anything you do, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's ugly, show it. And I'm telling you now, they will all literally start following you. And then you start building your brand. So you know where you're buying, you know where you're selling, you know where you're buying and selling. Now you need storage and organization. Now I can tell you now, I got nearly 7,000 pieces on my website. I don't think you realize, or I don't think you would realize how much is involved in handling that amount of stock. I have 3 shipping containers, full-size shipping containers that you see on Storage Wars or on ships, literally, and they're full, floor to ceiling. But mine has been evolved over almost 30 years of work. I have learned that every single item, I buy heavy duty plastic crates because I used to buy the cheap crates and they crushed on each other and items got broke. I now spend enough £30 a crate. You don't need to do this at the beginning, but storage is going to be something. I spend £30 a crate on heavy duty storage crates. I then wrap every single item. I list it. I wrap it in bubble wrap. I stock code it. I then enter that stock code number on a spreadsheet along with the box number, and then I pack it into the box. Then when the item sells, I just go on the spreadsheet, type the item in or the code number in. It'll tell me what box is in. I go to the lockup, find the box number, take the item out of the box. That is the way I store and track my items. It is that simple. I keep them safe. I've learned from years and years and years of use. But if you're just starting out and you're starting with jewellery, you could have a little plastic tub under your bed. It doesn't matter. But as you grow, you need to consider what your options are. If you're going to do jewellery, then you wouldn't need a shipping container. But if you're going to start doing big, bulky items, you need to start thinking all of a sudden, well, where am I going to store it all? Because believe me, the items add up fast. Right. So I have actually done a video. I haven't put that one in the description, but I will put it in storage, organization, that type of thing. I've done videos on optimizing that perfect, because it used to be I just put the item in a box and I'd write on the box what it was, and then I'd spend hours scrolling through every box looking for the item in the boxes. You'd think writing it on the front would be enough, but when you got 7,000 items, that means there's 7,000 items I got to scroll through every time I'm looking for one item. Absolute nightmare. So I will put that in the description. There's a load of links in the description already anyway, including the video that's not coming out till tomorrow. So that link won't work till tomorrow, which is the jewellery haul, where I'm showing you basically fast fire jewellery, just to give you an example of what you can get, okay? But that won't work till tomorrow. So you know you got to store it and consider the storing an organization, right? But then you got to track it. First of all, if you're doing this as a business, even if you're not making no money, you still need to be registered with HMRC Inland Revenue. Right? You register with HMRC, you've then got some like 18 months to do your tax return. Because your tax return's due in April of the end of the tax year, but you got until January the 31st to submit it of the following year. Right, but you need to keep records. So you need to keep records of what you buy. So when you're out and about buying a car boot sales, you need to keep a record, take a book with you right in the car. When you get back to your car, you can do it at the stall if you like, but I moved so fast at the stalls. When I get back to the car and unload, I write down then what I've bought and what I've paid for it. Any receipts, you need to keep receipts. So you need cost of stock, you need receipts. If you're selling, you need your pitch receipts. You need to keep all receipts, register with HMRC, keep anything from petrol, any online expenses, just keep receipts, log everything. Log your purchases, tracking stock codes. Have stock codes for all the stock and everything. It's the only way to keep track of everything. The more you track, the more you'll know. Because there's no point saying to yourself, right, well, I'm not making no money. Why are you not making any money? Are you tracking what you're buying? Are you tracking what you're selling? If you're tracking what you're buying and selling, and you can look at it and say, well, I'm not making no money. That's the stuff I'm buying. None of it's sold. Maybe I need to change what I'm buying or change the price, right? Or maybe you're taking a lot of money or you can't keep enough stock, and you look at it and you see, okay, that needs to be more expensive. You've got to track absolutely everything, right? So you've got to keep receipts for everything. You've got to track everything. And you've got to do a tax return at the end of every year. Tax returns sound complicated and hard, but it isn't hard. It is simply your turnover minus your legal legitimate costs equals your profit. It's that simple, right? It really is. And you can do a self-assessment online should you wish, or you can get yourself a tax advisor. But you're not going to do that until you're earning real good money. Right? So the next hurdle you got is packing and shipping. You need to learn to store your items safely, pack them, and ship them. Now, this doesn't matter whether you're shipping a bit of jewellery or whether you're shipping a glass vase. Shipping is seriously important. You need to have the right service. If you send a gold necklace through standard Royal Mail and the postman steals it, because it happens, right? You can't even claim on their insurance because Royal Mail state quite clearly they will only cover jewellery, precious metals, if it's in special delivery. So you need to know all about shipping. You can't ship things that, like, let's say, for argument's sake, a bayonet and things like that. You're not supposed to put them in Royal Mail. So you need to understand all the shipping restrictions, all the shipping terms and conditions. Sounds complicated, but just simply go on their website. There's books and leaflets and everything all on their website there to help you, Royal Mail. And if you buy your postage online, you get it a damn sight cheaper than you do at the post office. Packing your items. So packing a bit of jewellery, you still don't want to get it crushed on underneath boxes or anything else. So always pack it in a box or with bubble wrap. Now, if you want to pack and ship a ceramic vase or a glass vase, and let's say you're sending it to America. If you're on eBay, they have global shipping program. You ship it down the road and they'll ship it to America for you. But if you're on your own, you could ship it anywhere in the world. But at the same time, even if you're shipping it down the road here, do you have any idea how Royal Mail or any other company handle your parcels? They literally pick them up and throw them around. They really do. I swear to God, I've seen them play football with them. When they've had too many and they're kicking them up the garden path, I have seen it all. There was a video a few years back where somebody was in a delivery truck. He stopped and he was just chucking them all over the hedge. It's absolutely crazy. History props. Hi, thank you for coming in. So yeah, I've done a couple of videos on how to pack items safely for fragile antiques. I've even done videos where I built shipping crates to ship items that are valuable and large, such as enamel signs or paintings, anything along them lines. So I've done all that. But you'll figure out what's best for you. If you want to watch the videos on how to do that, you're more than welcome. If you don't, you'll figure it out. But don't figure it out by having stuff smashed. If you don't want to watch my packing video, there's plenty on YouTube, right? But you need to figure out how to pack your stuff. That is really important. Packing and shipping. Pack it right, ship it right. You don't want to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning. Go to a car boot sale, find something, come home, list it, wait for it to sell, put all the research into it, all the effort into it, and everything else for it to smash on the way to them. And then you lose the postage and the money because it's an instant refund because you were paid for a service. You got to get that item from you to them in one piece. If it breaks, doesn't matter if Royal Mail broke it. You may be able to put a claim against Royal Mail, but the upshot is you are only using a shipping company as a third-party courier. It is your responsibility to get the item to the buyer in one piece. So make sure you pack the stuff right. The right service for the right item and make sure it's packed right. Now, you also need to understand commitment, time commitment as well. You get out of this what you put into it. I was asked once how many hours a week I worked, and back then I was doing nearly 100 hours a week. If you counted in how long I was spending at car boot sales, I was doing like 7, 8, 9 hours a day at car boot sales. I was doing them most days of the week. I'd come home, I'd research the items, I'd list the items, everything. Even now, a Sunday, my normal Sunday is like an 18-hour day or a 19-hour day just for a Sunday. It's my busiest day of the week, but that is just a Sunday. Many a time I'm still working 2 o'clock in the morning. So you need to understand the time commitments. The more effort you put in, the more you'll get out. So let me give you a rough guide of what I do at the moment, right? I do about 15 hours a week at car boot sales, find in stock. I don't do 30 hours listing. I don't know why I wrote that. Probably 5 or 10 hours a week of listing, 3 to 4 hours a week of packing, probably 3, 4, 5 hours a week of research. Then I probably do 5 or 10 hours a week of videoing, editing, and writing articles and blogs. So you work it out, I'm still doing this more than a full-time job hours. And just starting out, you're going to have to do even more than that because you're going to have to do whatever I'm doing, plus more because you've got to add on the learning. So don't think for 1 second this is an easy job. It's a quick fix and it's a good fix, but you're going to have to put the hours in. You've got to learn the job in the first place. You've got to, you've got to go to the car boot sales. You're not going to have the same success I have because I got 30 years of experience. I walk up to tables, I can scan a table and I can see the things that are worth money. I really can. It's almost like they got on signs jumping off them. The rest of it I just discard. I don't even look at it. I don't pick it up. But that's going to take you time to learn. Afternoon, Richard. So, be realistic, right? You can start with no money, but one thing you've got to put in is time, effort, work. You've got to put that in, right? Now, some beginner mistakes to avoid. Being in too much of a rush to get into it and overpaying for items. You need to know the items you're going to buy, plan the items you're going to buy to start with, right? And know what they're worth. Know what your profit margin needs to be, know what they're worth. So you check in the demand, check in the supply, check in the prices, everything, right? There's no point you going out there buying something that nobody's going to buy off you. You need to know, right? So don't go overpaying for anything, and don't buy it. Now, it's hard for me to say don't buy it just for the sake of it, because when I started out, I bought drinking glasses. I learned Georgian drinking glasses, right? And I started out buying them at full price off another dealer, so I had an example in the house. So if you want to do something like that, that's different. But I had that as a learning tool, as an education tool. It's not about, I did not buy it full price to sell it on to make money, because that wouldn't have happened. But I bought it, put them on a shelf, used his descriptions as my reference book, if you like, with the item there that I could handle to learn. So yeah, don't go overpaying. What's this? Is a car boot equivalent to a flea market? 100%, yes, it is. Thank you for commenting. It is exactly the same. It's exactly what it sounds, right? A car boot sale is what we have them in the UK. You just, members of the public, load stuff into the car, drive to a field, put it out on a table and sell it. It's basically a flea market. We call them car boot sales over here. It's exactly the same thing. Another thing that will kill you is poor photographs and poor descriptions. Now, believe it or not, I've got some of the best photographs you'd ever see, right? And all I use is an iPhone 7. I've got a digital DSLR camera, whatever it is in there. I paid £1,000 for it. And it was so complicated. I'm really old school. I struggle. I struggle with technology. That's how my thumbnails are not brilliant. I have to use AI sometimes because I'm not very good with technology. So I couldn't figure the camera out. I learned you don't even need it. I use an old iPhone 7. So if you've got a more modern phone, it's going to have a better camera, right? And the photographs I do are stunning. So you don't need to invest in cameras and all the rest of it. You can use your phone. You can even list it on eBay off your phone. What I would suggest you invest in, right, is a light tent. If you don't matter whether you're going to do jewellery, whether you're going to do ceramics, glass, you're not going to be doing big furniture and things like that starting out because you can't ship it. Right? You can't ship it through Royal Mail and things. You want stuff that is easy to pack, easy to ship, and easy to photograph. Right, so you want to, in time, but invest in a light tent. Lighting is important. If you haven't got a light tent starting out, use natural light. It is that simple. I use an iPhone 2, nothing to worry. Yeah, believe it or not, even as old as an iPhone 7, right, the quality, picture quality is absolutely superb. In fact, I'm going to share with you one picture. I'm going to go to my website, and I just listed a pair of Japanese Imari vases, right? And I'm going to share the photograph with you. But you're welcome to go to my website and look at any of the photographs, right? Because I do very good photographs. If I can find the vases, I wanted to share with you the vases. That's how much listing I've done. I'm on page 5 and I've only listed them this week. Let me just run a search. Hang on. Right, so have a look at these for photographs. That is with an old iPhone 7. That is as good as any auction house or anybody else will do. How beautiful is that? It's all about just displaying the stuff. The better the photograph, the more money and the easier it'll sell. It's that simple. Right? But you don't need cameras and all the rest of it. It is that simple. Take it with your phone, right? But good lighting. If you can't afford a lighting tent, they're about 50 quid, right? If you can't afford a lighting tent to start with, use natural light. Right? Take it in the daylight, use natural light. That. Photos on the site. Thank you very much, Richard. I take pride in my photographs. Now, one thing that always let me down was descriptions. Now, I've always been very basic. I always wanted a basic description, which was, this is what it is. This is how old it is. This is the description of it. This is any condition flaws. I always made sure size was in there, condition was in there, age, and what the item is. Right? Always made sure they were in there. Now when I'm using ChatGPT, I actually give ChatGPT all that information, and ChatGPT writes my descriptions for me. But what ChatGPT does, it expands on it and puts the history of the item, the history of the company, things like that, all on my descriptions now. And it has improved my sales by about 25%. So descriptions are seriously important as well, right? So good photographs, good descriptions, realistic prices. Now, it's up to you. If you want to ask top money, that's fine, but you got to be prepared to sit there and wait for the right buyer, for the right collector. If you're starting out, a good profit gets you on to buying the next item. The more items you handle, the more items you sell, the more you learn. Because this is all a skill. Every part of this is a skill, and a skill you can learn. Whether it's listing, whether it's buying, whether it's selling, whether it's dealing with customers, it is all a skill. If a customer comes to you and they start complaining about let's say for argument's sake, you sell a vase. In fact, I'm going to use one of mine. I just sold a chessboard, a wooden chessboard. This thing was probably a 1980s chessboard, but it had never been out of its box. I sent it to him. I said it'd never been out of the box, never been used. Right? It was in very good condition. I missed a tiny mark on the edge. I don't know whether it was done in the postage or when it was opened or what. I don't know. It was a tiny mark. He sent it to me. I didn't argue with him and say, well, it was perfect and blah, blah, blah. I simply said, that's no problem. I'm very sorry if I missed it. You're welcome to send it back and have a full refund. I'll even refund the return postage. Do you know what he said? No, it's fine. I'll keep you. Thank you. A lot of dealers, including myself early days, would have said, well, it was perfect when I sent it, so you've obviously damaged it. Why argue? Because they can go to PayPal and they'll say to PayPal, I'm not happy with this, and PayPal will give them the money back anyway. So rather than argue with people, just apologize. Offer them a refund, offer them a return. 9 out of 10 times, they're not going to return it anyway. One thing I don't do is I don't do partial refunds unless it's an obvious mistake I've made. Because you get a lot of people fish for partial refunds. I offer a full refund on the return of the item. I even pay the return postage, right? So, yeah, it tends... I learned very easy, very quickly. There's no point arguing with the customers, right? Instead, just apologize, even if it's not your fault. Just apologize and say you're welcome to return the item. Because the rule or the law on this is classed as long distance selling gives them 28 days to return the item, even if they don't like it or change their mind. They don't need a legitimate reason. If you go to a shop and you buy something, you can see it, you can handle it, it's different laws. They don't have to legally give you a refund. They can just give you a credit note if they want to, right? Case in question, we purchased a pair of trainers in Sports Direct last week. Took them home. The boy didn't like them. We went back to change them. They didn't have a pair there in the right size that we wanted because we'd picked up the wrong ones, and they wouldn't give us our money back. They give us a store credit, and we had to go to a different Sports Direct to get the pair we actually should have bought. But if you're selling, this is classed as long distance selling. It's different rules, and they got the legal right to return items anyway. So why not beat them to it? One of the things on my terms and conditions page on the website is this: you can return any object up to 14 days of delivery for any reason, even if you just change your mind. And I'll even pay the return postage. And you know what that does? It gives people confidence to buy. I don't think I've ever had somebody return it because they changed their mind. It just gives them the confidence that they can, and that makes a difference. But if you provide a good service, if you're honest with the descriptions, if you see a chip or a flaw or something, make sure they know about it. Right? There's no point. It'll only come back to you. Honest descriptions, describe everything, photograph everything, use as many photographs as you can. Right? I think eBay allow you 10 or 12 photographs. Use them. You just as well. But be honest with the buyer, and there you go. I just argue when people do false statements on the item. When somebody argues, as the friend said, when somebody argues of his friend said the feather bead made in Venice is not original, just these are not produced and copied in this size. What's that? since the 30s, right? Yes, you could argue, but what's it going to get you? Generally, because even on my own private website, right, I take PayPal. All my card processing is done through PayPal. There are other companies I can use, but PayPal charged me 1 point something percent to handle all the money. So instead of losing 30% when I was selling on eBay, I lose 1 point something percent. So for every £100, I'm getting something £98 back. Whereas on eBay, for every £100 I earned, I was getting 70 quid back. Right? But PayPal still have their own terms and conditions. Because I use them, I have to abide by their terms and conditions as well. Therefore, what's the point? It doesn't matter if the customer's right or wrong. They still get their money back. So you just well say, if you're not happy, I don't even get in a debate with them. In that circumstance, if someone was arguing over that, I would simply say, honestly, if you're not happy, please return the item. I'll relist it. I'll give you a full refund. It's just not worth the argument. They end up leaving you negative feedback and things like that. It's just not worth it. I prefer books, but it's time consuming. I love books. I do. But let me share this one with you, right? I got books on silver and gold hallmarks, right? But have a look how easy this is to use. No, not that. This is a website called silvermakersmarks.co.uk. Sorry, I didn't have my glasses on. Right, you come here, you can click on hallmark identification or makers marks, right? So if I click on hallmark, right, and you can come, it's showing you here, first of all the different assay office marks. Let's go Birmingham, one of the most common you're going to find. You chuck in your date letter, let's say A, and then you come down here, look at that. Gives you examples of all different hallmarks with the letter A and the dates next to them. Exactly the same. If I was to go makers marks, right, we can go Birmingham again, and let's say A again, right, A, and there you go. Look at that. Gives you all the makers marks. What's the point in me going in my office? And I don't know if any of you've seen my office video where I'm showing my library. I got about 1,000 books. I've spent thousands of pounds on books. I paid £500 for one book on Chinese porcelain marks. I paid £300 for a book on Whitefriars. I paid the money for my books. But now, most of the stuff you need is all online. It really is that simple. So yes, I love books, but at the same time, if it's free and that quick and easy to use, why not do it? Do I use Google ID out hunting? I've been buying some books on antiques as well. Yes, I will use Google ID. Even after 30 years, I still come across stuff that I can't identify on a boot sale. And I'll give you an example. I bought a photograph for £2. I didn't know what it was. I knew it was good. I didn't Google ID it straight away. I went up and bought it and walked away. I knew it was good. As soon as I Google ID'd it, I found one, a fraction of the size, sold for £3,500. It was a rare photograph by one of the most sought-after documentary photographers in the United Kingdom in the 70s. I think it was Graham Smith. And I've now got £7,500 sitting on it. But if I see something, whether it's tribal or whether it's American pottery or something like that, this game is so big, you're never going to know it all. So yes, sometimes I'll snap a photo, but I don't really do it in front of the stall holder. I really don't. But unless they trade. If they trade, I'll say, all right, I want to do a bit of research on that because they generally ask a lot more money. But if I'm buying it off a member of the public, I'm experienced enough to know what's worth buying. I may not know what it is all the time, but I know it's worth buying. You're looking more. If you don't know what something is, you got to ask yourself: is it quality? Has it been handmade? Has it been hand decorated? Is it hand painted? Is it old? Is it bloody cheap? And if you're answering yes to all them, do you need to Google Lens it in front of the stall holder? If it's a few quid, just buy it, go off to your car, Google Lens it and find out what you've got. It's that simple. Truth be told, 90% of customers are stupid anyway. I've had people complain to me about the most crazy stuff in the world, generally. I'll give you an example. A 300-year-old vase, glass vase. If you look underneath the glass vase, it will have wear on the foot rim, that authentic wear from being picked up and put down, picked up and put down, right? If it didn't have that wear, I would instantly think, is it a white rice copy or something like that, right? But we're talking a Georgian glass. And I sent it to them, and they complained because underneath was all scratched. And if it didn't have that, it wouldn't be authentic. But I took a return anyway. But yeah, you get some of the most crazy things people moan about you wouldn't believe, honestly. I did sue PayPal. Well, I didn't sue PayPal. I sued a customer, and I won. That was great fun. I done that purely because I got fed up of them taking the mick out of me. I sold an item. It was a Chinese lamp. I sold just the lamp. I said the electrics have been cut off. You've got to take it somewhere and get it rewired. I said I'm not selling it as a working lamp. I'm selling it as a lamp. A Chinese lady bought it. Rather than taking it to an electrician, she tried wiring it herself. She totally buggered it up because she didn't know what she was doing. Then went to PayPal and said, I want to return this. This was after like a month or 6 weeks of having it. She said, I want to return this. The electrics are not working. And PayPal said, yeah, no problem. There's your money back. So I then threatened PayPal. PayPal wouldn't even tell me the name of the bank she used for me to take action against the bank. So I thought, okay, fine. If that's how you want to play it. I had her details and she was in the UK. If she'd been overseas, I would have been naffed. But she was in the UK. So I sent her a letter before action. ChatGPT helped me again, write a letter before action. I sent her a letter before action. She took the letter before action. She went to a bank for help and advice because she obviously had legal cover with whatever bank she had. And the bank turned around to her and said, he's bluffing. He's just trying to scare you. Just ignore it. 10 days later, she had a court summons where I'd taken it to court. She went back to the bank and said, now he's proceeded to the court thing. The bank said, oh my God, you better refund him. You ain't got a leg to stand on. Because I'd submitted all the evidence, all the listing, everything. And I had the original money for the lamp back. I had the original postage back. I had the court costs back. And I even charged her for the £10 per letter and the £7 shipping to send the letter special delivery, telling her she was going to court the letter before action. I had it all back. So yeah, I won that one and I had it all back. The only thing I haven't done, I wanted to sue PayPal because PayPal, they are responsible as well for making sure that the people who buy off you use the cards properly. Right, they're supposed to be checking the cards are not stolen, checking the cards are legit, and all the rest of it, right? And then when I contacted PayPal because they'd done that dispute, PayPal wouldn't even tell me the name of the bank, but yet the bank is as responsible for chargebacks or anything else as we are. So if something goes wrong, the bank is just as responsible. But PayPal protecting the banks by not giving the banks' names over. I was going to sue PayPal for that. However, PayPal got a bigger purse than me. So I decided to leave PayPal alone, but I sued the customer instead and won. Thank you very much. I'm coming to the end of it now, but thank you. Hopefully, if there's anything you've missed, you can watch back. So, we done the photographing, didn't we? And the descriptions. Now I've talked about tracking, right? But one thing I didn't track is spending. You need to set a budget. You need to, especially if you're starting with no money, right? You need to set a budget. Track your spending, monitor your spending. Make sure you've got a couple of pounds to ship the item, especially if eBay you're holding your items till the items sell, right? You can send a bit of jewellery, as I said, for 2 or 3 quid. But let's say you've got 50 quid in your bank, right? You want to go to a car boot sale, spend 10, 20 quid on bits of jewellery, get them listed, right? You need enough money to ship them. But on top of that, if you track your money coming in, you track your money going out, you know where you are, you know what bills are coming in, right? The more you know, the more you track, as I've already explained to you earlier, you can't fix it if you don't know what's wrong. And you won't know what's wrong unless you're tracking it. Track your sales, track your profits, track your budget, track your spending, track everything. The more you track, the more successful you'll be, trust me. I track absolutely everything. There's nothing I don't track. I put letters in with my parcels, right? A thank you letter. In that thank you letter is a code, a discount code for people who are returning customers. I even track how many people use that code to know whether it's working or not working. I track everything. I really do. We are all well. Thank you very much. So let me see. Final reminders then. You don't need any money. You can start by selling stuff from around your house if you want to. You don't need experience. I've already demonstrated you could use ChatGPT. You can get ChatGPT for free. I did our free versions of it. You can also use Google Image. You can do everything, right? You don't need experience. Just wherever you're starting with, just be careful. Due diligence, is that the right word? Due diligence. Just do a bit of research and know what you're buying, right? I don't expect you to be able to go out and find an 18th century drinking glass or a bit of Chinese porcelain tomorrow. Start with something you know, start with something small, start with something obvious. If you, let's say you may be a little older, you may have lived through the 70s and 80s or 60s and 70s, right? Then you'll already know what that stuff is. Maybe you're a fan of vintage clothing, anything, it doesn't matter. Start with something you already know, right? And do it in small baby steps. Anyway, that's the end of my notes. So now, if you got any questions, then I'll answer any questions. But other than that, I haven't got any more notes. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to see if anybody got any questions. While I'm waiting for any questions, I've actually gained about 2,500, 3,000 subscribers in the last week or two. So for all the new people who are watching, thank you very much for subscribing. I really appreciate it. My channel has had a massive jump this last couple of weeks, and I am very, very grateful for every single one of you and everybody who's already supported the channel all the way through. I can't see any questions coming in, so obviously I've covered absolutely everything in the video. So I'll call it there. If you liked the video, please consider subscribing and sharing would really help the channel. And if you want to know more about me, about what I do and what I sell and everything, just go to the website, have a look at the website. It's antiquesarena.com. Thank you very much for giving up your time and coming and joining me, and I will see you soon. And if you're interested in doing the jewellery, watch tomorrow's video, because I've done it purely to support today's video about the jewellery. Right, it'll be out 9 o'clock in the morning, and it is just a quick fire of all the jewellery I've bought in the last sort of 10 days or so, 2 weeks, and you'll have a shock. Gold bangles, 50p, you name it. I've had an absolute stormer over a couple of weeks. Anyway, I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.